The man who saw nothing. The city's underbelly reeked of piss and despair, but for Tommy, it was home. He'd been on the streets for years, his beard matted, his coat a patchwork of stains. He slept in alleys, under bridges, wherever the wind didn't bite too hard. Lately, though, something was wrong. The shadows moved when they shouldn't. It started a week ago, under the flickering streetlight on 4th Street. Tommy was rummaging through a dumpster, the kind that smelled like sour milk in regret, when he felt it, a prickle on his neck, like someone was watching. He spun around, clutching a broken bottle, but the alley was empty. Just the usual rats and trash. Still, the air felt thick, like it was holding its breath. The next night, he saw them. He was curled up in a cardboard lean-to behind the old theater, trying to ignore the hunger gnawing his gut. The street was quiet, save for the distant hum of traffic. Then, a shadow stretched across the pavement, too tall, too thin, too wrong. Tommy squinted, heart thudding. It wasn't cast by anything he could see. No streetlight, no car, nothing. Just a silhouette, humanoid but blurry, like someone had smudged it with a dirty thumb. It had no face. No eyes, no mouth, just a blank oval where its head should have been. He bolted, his bad knee screaming, and didn't stop until he hit the riverfront. The shadow didn't follow, but Tommy couldn't shake the feeling it was still there, just out of sight. He told himself it was the booze, or maybe he was finally losing it. But the next night, there were two. They stood at the mouth of the alley, motionless, their faceless heads tilted like they were studying him. Tommy's breath hitched. He could hear his own pulse, loud and frantic, but the beings made no sound. No footsteps, no rustle of cloth, nothing. He grabbed a rusted pipe from the ground and swung it, shouting curses to keep the fear at bay. The pipe passed through them like they were smoke, and they vanished. But not before one raised a hand, its fingers too long, pointing at him. Tommy didn't sleep after that. He moved constantly, weaving through the city's maze of backstreets and underpasses. He tried to blend in, to disappear among the other ghosts of the streets, but the beings always found him. By the 4th night, there were 3, then 4. They didn't chase him. They didn't need to. They'd just appear, at the edge of a parking lot, in the reflection of a pawnshop window, behind the steam of a manhole. Always silent, always watching, their blank faces burning into his skull. He started noticing things about them. They weren't just faceless, they were empty. No texture, no depth, like holes cut out of the world. And they were changing him. His reflection in a cracked mirror showed eyes too wide, skin too pale, like he was fading. His hands shook constantly, and his thoughts felt slippery, like they weren't his anymore. He muttered to himself, trying to hold on to something real, but the words came out wrong, twisted. By the 6th night, Tommy was desperate. He'd heard whispers from other street folk about a woman named Mama Luce, a voodoo priestess who helped those the world forgot. She lived in a condemned tenement on the edge of town, surrounded by candles and bones. Tommy didn't believe in that stuff, but he was out of options. The beings were closer now, their outlines sharper, their presence heavier. He could feel them in his chest, a cold weight that made it hard to breathe. The tenement smelled of mildew and incense. Mama Luce was ancient, her eyes sharp despite the wrinkles. She listened as Tommy stammered out his story, her fingers tracing a string of beads. "They ain't demons," she said, voice like gravel. "They're what's left when the world forgets you. They feed on the lost, the ones nobody sees. You've been invisible too long, Tommy." He begged her for help. She gave him a charm, a small bag of herbs and teeth, tied with red thread. "Keep it close," she warned. "And don't look at him. They want you to see him. That's how they take you." Tommy clutched the charm like a lifeline and stumbled back into the night. The city felt different now, like it was holding its breath again. He avoided mirrors, windows, anything that might show him those blank faces. But they were everywhere. 5 now, then 6, their shapes crowding the edges of his vision. He ran, the charm bouncing against his chest, until he collapsed in an empty lot, gasping. The beings surrounded him. 7 of them, their faceless heads tilted in unison. Tommy squeezed his eyes shut, clutching the charm so hard his nails drew blood. He muttered Mama Luce's words, a frantic prayer against the silence. For a moment, he thought it worked. The air lightened, the cold in his chest eased. Then he heard it, a soft, wet rip. His eyes snapped open. The charm was gone. No, not gone, unmade. The thread, the verbs, the teeth, all unraveled into nothing, like they'd never existed. The beings stepped closer, their outlines flickering. Tommy screamed, scrambling backward, but there was nowhere to go. And then he saw it. In the distance, a figure, another homeless man, older, limping, his face half hidden by a hood. Tommy knew him. Old Pete, who slept by the tracks. Relief flooded him. Someone else, someone real. He shouted for help, waving frantically. Pete turned, and Tommy's scream died in his throat. Pete's face was gone. Just a blank, empty oval, tilting toward him. The beings parted, and Pete stepped forward, his movements slow, deliberate. Tommy's mind reeled. He'd seen Pete yesterday, heard him cough, watched him eat a half-rotted sandwich. Pete was real. Pete was human. But not anymore. Tommy's legs gave out. He fell to his knees, the beings closing in. Their emptiness pulled at him, unraveling his thoughts, his memories, his self. He tried to hold on to something, his name, his mother's voice, the taste of rain, but it slipped away, like sand through his fingers. The last thing he saw, before the world went blank, was Pete reaching for him, long fingers stretching toward his face. The next morning, a new man shuffled through the city's alleys. He wore Tommy's coat, Tommy's boots, but his face was gone. He moved silently, joining the others, dozens, hundreds, all faceless, all forgotten. The city didn't notice. It never did. And in the empty lot, where Tommy had knelt, there was nothing. No blood, no charm, no trace he'd ever existed. Just shadows, stretching too long, too thin, too wrong.